Did you know that at one point the Australian military went to war with giant birds? And no, this isn't some strange fever dream. It actually happened. The year was 1932 and the location was Western Australia. The enemy was the emu, a large flightless bird related to the ostrich that can grow up to 6 feet tall and weigh over 100 pounds. But how did it come to this? Well, in the early 20th century, farmers in Western Australia began to experience serious crop losses due to the emus eating their crops. Farmers requested that the government do something about this, but because emus were protected, the government couldn't just allow the farmers to kill them. This led to the farmers taking matters into their own hands and forming vigilante groups to hunt the emus down. These groups would use guns, traps, and even poison to kill the birds. But no matter what they did, the emus seemed to fight back, killing several people and injuring many more. In response, the government sent in the army to put down this so-called avian insurrection. But despite having guns, the soldiers were unable to stop the emus from destroying the crops. It got so bad that Major Meredith, the leader of the military operation, radioed for air support, and soon fighter planes were swooping low over the fields, trying to run the emus over. But this didn't work either. The emus were too quick and too clever for the slow-moving planes, and they continued to escape unharmed. One particularly crafty emu even managed to dodge the bullets of a machine gun by sheltering under a woman's skirt. Yes, really. You can read all about it in the book The Emu War that was published in 2008. It was quite the ordeal. After 3 days of fighting, the military had killed over 5,000 emus, but they had also suffered heavy losses themselves. Their guns jammed from emu blood and feathers, their trucks broke down from the rough terrain, and the soldiers were exhausted from the constant running and hiding. In the end, Major Meredith called off the attack and the emus won. But why should we care about this silly little war? Well, as ridiculous as it sounds, it tells us a lot about the relationship between humans and animals. Up until the 19th century, emus were able to fly over from Indonesia and had only recently evolved into flightless birds when Europeans arrived. Because they were big, strong, and fast, the locals considered them to be dangerous and untamable. When the Europeans took over, they brought with them domestic animals like pigs, dogs, and sheep, which were smaller and easier to control. So the emu became an invasive species that had to be gotten rid of. But here's where things get complicated. The land that the emu had evolved on was also home to many Aboriginal people who had lived there for tens of thousands of years. The Aboriginals had developed a culture and way of life that was deeply connected to the emu. They respected the emu as a powerful animal and used its feathers, skin, and eggs in their ceremonies and daily life. But when the Europeans came along, they didn't care about any of that. They saw the emu as nothing more than a pest and tried to wipe it out. And that brings us back to the Great Emu War. The farmers wanted to kill the emus because they were eating their crops, but by doing so, they were also destroying the habitat and food sources of the Aboriginal people. The soldiers who fought in the war were mostly unaware of this and simply followed orders. But some of them later came to regret what they had done. After the war, the emu was placed under protection and its numbers slowly began to recover. But the damage had already been done. The war had shown how powerful and resilient the emu was, but it had also shown how weak and divided the humans were. Perhaps that's why the emu has become such a beloved symbol of Australia. It's a reminder that even the smallest and most vulnerable creatures can be strong and united when they have to be. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. And if you want to learn more about the Great Emu War, check out the book The Emu War by Barry Roberts.